Hello, friends. I'm Stafford Betty, the Afterlife Professor. Last time I mentioned that we would be looking at spirit possession in the next video. I made that video, didn't like it. I want to redo it. I'll show it to you later this month. We'll be looking at something far brighter. What happens to a person in the first hours and days immediately following death? We'll be looking particularly at old people, people who have died slowly of cancer or emphysema or heart trouble. They're in their 80s typically, and what happens to people like that? We'll be looking at that kind of introduction to the afterworld. There are other types, and we'll be looking at a very different type in the next video, a darker type. But in this instance, we'll be looking at two old guys in their 80s who are bedded side by side, looking out at their beautiful world, but not released yet to go there. They are recovering, they're regenerating, and they're being nursed back to complete health. One of them is a person I modeled after myself. His name is Aidan, and the other fellow, bedded side by side, is an atheist who is also a materialist, doesn't believe anything like an afterworld, and finds himself in a condition of complete confusion. He doesn't know what has happened to him. We'll see how this conversation between these two guys unfurls. They are at a receiving station. There are thousands of these all over the astral plane. Keep in mind that 150,000 people die every day on our planet. So there's a lot of work to be done to orient these many souls who come over. You can view this as a kind of an orientation station, or it's referred to, as I say, as a receiving station for the newly dead. So let's take a look at what is very likely to happen to folks like us if we grow old and have been basically decent people, not saints, but not bad people. This is the kind of conversation we might have with our friend. This is taken from my novel, The Afterlife Therapist. It is based, of course, on all of the research that I've done in my nonfiction work. So here we go. I think you'll enjoy this, and I think you'll learn a lot about what it's like to die in those early first days. Still dazed and groggy from their long illnesses, most found themselves confused and needing instruction. Those who thought death meant extinction had trouble even believing they had died. They thought they were recovering from their illness, but wondered where they were. Rupert was one of these, and not even the hospice counselors had been able to convince him that he had died and then survived. Aidan, even in his weakened condition, thought he would give it a try. Tell me about yourself, Rupert. Can you believe it? These idiots are trying to tell me I've died. Why do you find that? Why do you find that so hard to believe? Rupert looked dubiously at Aidan. Look, friend, I'm a scientist. I'm thinking. I'm talking. My brain is working. It's working better than it has in a long time. Much better. If I was dead, my brain wouldn't be working at all. I haven't been able to get this obvious point across to anybody. I'm surrounded by religious nuts, and they call themselves nurses. It's amazing. This is a beautiful, beautiful place, but it must be some kind of cult. How did I ever end up here? Where's my wife? He then darted a hostile look at Aidan. Are you in with them? Don't you think it's odd your wife hasn't visited you? Said Aidan, diverting the question. I'm not sure she knows where I am. I told the staff to call her, but they said they couldn't. My wife's not with me either. She knows where I am, but she can't reach me. My name's Aidan. Aidan extended his hand and smiled, and Rupert took it hesitantly and shook it weakly. We'll be out of here in no time, Aidan said. By the way, if you don't mind my asking, how old are you? 88. You? 88. Aidan looked around and called out to a nurse. A young woman walked over. Yes, how can I help? Would you bring me a mirror? I'd be happy to. She walked over to a counter and came back with something that resembled a small handheld mirror. He glanced at it and gave it to Rupert. "Take a look at yourself." Rupert took it and looked. "Good God, I don't look a day over 40. What the hell?" The nurse laughed, and Aidan smiled and asked, "Mind if I have a look?" Aidan took the mirror and discovered the same thing about himself, except that he looked more like 50 than 40. He looked at Rupert and said, "It's amazing what death does for one, don't you think?" Rupert looked at Aidan, stunned. "Death? Christ, you mean?" "No, that's impossible." He put on his sternest face, "I took you for an educated man." "He's educated, Rupert," said the nurse with a laugh. "In fact..." "Wait a minute," said Rupert, sitting up suddenly on his bed. You mean... His face lit up. He smiled a broad smile of happy shame and looked around as if he were the biggest fool in the whole world and said, "Holy shit." "Rupert, you finally understand," said the nurse. "You get it." She looked at Aidan and winked, then back at Rupert. "Now we can release you. And incidentally, back on Earth, there's a memorial service scheduled. We didn't think you'd make it. But now, we'll send you on your way and even escort you. Of course, no one will see you. It would be like you were spying, seeing who attended, listening to the nice things people say about you. It's up to you." Rupert was too astonished to answer. Aidan extended his hand again, and this time Rupert, with head slightly bowed, sheepishly shook it with more conviction. So there you have it. That's the kind of receiving station that we're likely to find ourselves in. Of course, if we die suddenly as young people by accident, it'll be a very different kind of early experience. More on that later. As a matter of fact, that's what we'll be looking at next time. A very different kind of death, a tragic death. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you've learned something about the afterworld from this little reading. And I'll see you next time. Have a good evening.